Good morning and welcome to Life in Review. I'm Josefa Salinas, your host. Well, we all have had those moments when we look at the significant other in our life and we scratch our head and go, oh, how are we going to get through this day? Well, there's a couple who have gotten through quite a few days, and they have went out and talked to 40 other couples about the secrets to a happy life, a happy marriage, and a happy wife. I'm sure that those three questions were asked often. Marlo Thomas and Phil Donahue are with us this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning to you. We're so happy to be with you.
Good morning.
It's good to have you here. So I have to ask right off the bat, how long have the two of you been married?
40 years.
40 years, that's a long time.
Yes,
I don't even admit to being 40.
I know. I was talking with a woman. We were on a big women's call earlier this week, and she said she had been married to her husband for 51 years, and we all just kind of went, like you could hear the gasp of everyone there. It was like,
Wow.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. 51 years. It was beyond my imagination. So you two decided to put this book together. What made you decide? What was the motivation behind putting What Makes a Marriage Last together?
Well, I think we wanted to celebrate our 40 years, and we usually take a trip and things like that, or a party, and we just thought, people are always asking us, what makes your marriage last? How do you do it? And we have no idea. We say, well, we love each other, we like each other, but we thought, it'd be interesting to find out what is the secret sauce of making a marriage last? Why have we lasted when so many haven't? And we had recently had a couple that broke up that surprised us. So we thought, let's go out and see if we can find what the secret sauce is.
One of the things that I noticed in reading the book is that there were some common threads to me. What did you find when you were talking to the couples? Was there a common thread amongst the 40 couples that you could say there are a couple of real key things that hold a marriage together?
Yeah. We could tell them almost immediately, the difference between those who were married because they were married and those who took the union seriously. Immediately that was apparent to us, both of us.
Right.
You could see the people who really wanted the marriage to last. It just was there. It was in the room. You knew it, that this union was solid because they wanted it to be.
Exactly, and they went to marriage counseling. They took weekend trips to be alone. Giving your time is a very big part of making a relationship last. All of our married life, we've always gone away on our anniversary, sometimes to another country and sometimes just around, a hotel nearby. We've always made it our own special time together. And people get caught up in their work, they get caught up in their families, and the relationship kind of is is sidelined. And you can't do that. You have to water it. You have to keep at it and stoke it and love each other and be kind to each other and be interested in each other. And if you're not, you wake up one day and you got a stranger with you and you realize that you really tell your secrets to your friends. You don't even confide in your spouse. And that's when the marriage has gone south.
Now, a lot of the couples have children. Did you find a common theme of when the kids left the house and you're left staring at the person that you've been with? You've been mom and dad for so many years, and now all of a sudden you're
Right.
not mom and dad anymore. You got to be the married person to this other person you're looking at.
Well, with these couples, as Phil said, they were so committed to each other, and they'd worked on their marriage all along, that they did not suffer the empty nesting. And a lot of them, all of them, Lisa and Mehmet Oz, Janice and Billy Crystal, Rob Reiner and Michelle, they all had grown children who'd left the nest. But they were having a good time now, because they were good parents, they raised their kids, but they always had each other very, very clearly. In fact, Letty Pogrebin, who's a wonderful writer, and her husband said that they said to their kids one time the kids were saying, Mom and Dad, you always go off on your birthdays and stuff and leave us out. And Letty said, we love you more than anything in the world, but you're not our marriage. And that's a very important thing. I was so impressed with that. That was not something I think my parents might have said. That's very healthy, to know that the marriage is its own unit. And Judy Viors talked about that. She said there's you and your husband, and then there's this other thing, the marriage. Peter Herman, who's married to Mariska Hargitay, said, if you get married thinking the other person is going to make you happy, you're going to fail. You're just going to keep going from partner to partner looking for one to make you happy. Happiness is what you build together. That's where you're going to find the happiness, is in what you build together. And that I see. I didn't put it into words before, but that is the truth. That's the truth.
One of the things I noticed when looking at Holly and Rodney, they said they've got this thing called the 20-second hug. And when you ask for it, no matter what, if you're mad, it doesn't matter, you have to do this 20-second hug. Tell me a little bit about that. I
just love that, didn't you, honey?
Yeah, that was very personal and very honest.
And she said sometimes you really don't want to do it, but that's the thing, you got to do it. And Bryan Cranston and his wife, Robin Dearden, who have a terrific marriage, and they really believe in marriage counseling. And their rule is if one of them wants to go, they have to go. Even if the other one doesn't think there's anything to go about, they have to go. And he said, and when we go, even if you're the one that didn't think you needed to go, you learn so much each time. And he said, you don't go looking for a referee, you're looking for an interpreter. Because, what did he mean by that? And why did she say this? And, that's not what she meant. That kind of thing. Somebody to help you through it. Al Roker and his wife, Deborah Roberts, said the same thing. Sorry, I got hiccups.
Another couple that amazed me was Deepak and his wife, Rita. When I read here, he says, Rita says, I'm very clear that I'm always right. And Deepak said, and I let her be right. And then you said, you do? Why is that? He said, because I care for her. And almost always the things people argue about are not even important. And they said that they don't argue. Talk to me a little bit about what you learned about their relationship, because that is very unique. You never argue?
Yeah, well, they come from a different culture also. They both come from India, where they're much more subdued and meditative, and I don't think they bring that sort of American hustle to their lives. I like them very much. They're very peaceful people. Tell her the James Carville story.
Well, Carville made what's apparently at first seemed to us to be a kind of a cliched, shallow thing to key on. But when we applied it to ourselves, we both started laughing because it's true. When you find yourself, according to Carville, going around and around on a very important issue, it's important to nip that in the bud. Get rid of it as fast as you can. And Carville's suggestion, apparently it's what he always did when it happened to him. He would say to his spouse, let's kick this can down the road. And when we got ourselves into an unimportant argument about a very, shallow, meaningless issue, give them an idea.
Yeah, well, you're talking about, you said you would, no, you didn't, yes, you did, one of those. And it can go around and around. And when you're first married, that's, you slam a door, you pout for an hour. As you get a little older, you don't do that so much anymore.
Right.
But we were doing that one day when we came back from interviewing everybody, and Phil turned to me and he said, let's just kick this can down the road. And we started laughing. We go, wow, what a great new tool we've learned. That's a great code for this is a stupid argument, let's get out of it. And so we do, and Carville said every successful marriage has a whole alley of cans down the road. And I think that's very true. And I love what Kira Sedgwick said. She said there is no plan B when you get married. That's it. If you go into marriage thinking if it doesn't work out, you can always get out, then you probably haven't found the right person. Because you have to feel like this is the person I want. I'm going to hold on for dear life and make it work, no matter what challenge comes our way, and everybody has a challenge.
Yeah.
Everybody. There's whatever it is. Chris Guest discovered one day that Jamie Lee Curtis, his wife, was a drug addict. Now what? And Phil asked him, he said, did you ever consider getting out of this? And he said, no, never. Yeah.
I once asked Billy Graham on my program, have you ever thought about divorce? He said, never, never. And there was a pause, and then he said, murder, yes. I thought that was honest.
Yeah, that's very honest. And actually, Kevin and Kyra were the next people that I was going to bring up because I loved their statement about there being no plan B. So after you've done this book,
yes.
You've talked to 40 couples. Did you learn anything about your own marriage that you could take, and then give us 3 things that people can really, really hold on to when they're looking at how to hold on and grow through a marriage?
Right. Well, we learned a lot of things, but I think one of the things we learned is we are very different personalities. Phil is very laid back, and I'm very impulsive. So if there's a problem, I'm jump for the phone to find a solution. He lays back and says, wait a minute, let's just think this out. And we've often argued about that. I'm saying, come on, let's do this. And he'll say, just calm down, let's figure it out. What we found being together on the book is that we were together like we've never been together, like every day working together all day, which we've not done before. And we found that those differences that we have actually work for us in different situations. Since there were so many days and so many conflicts happening, being thrown at us, that sometimes he was right. It was better to lay back. And sometimes I was right. It was better to move quickly. So we started to appreciate, okay, your point of view is not so bad. And okay, yours isn't not so bad either. So we melded our very different personalities into something more workable for us. But we have something going which you have to have as a couple, and that's that our values are the same. We both grew up Catholic kids, raised by the nuns. Phil's from Cleveland, my father's from Toledo. So our values are very Midwest, middle-class Catholic. And I think that has a lot to do with our feeling safe with each other, don't you think?
I do, and often our own, in the early part of our marriage, differences would often, way too often, start a war. And when I held back and just refused to, pick up the M48, what
the ammunition.
Yeah, it was so much easier. It didn't expend as much energy. It was just a lot better and calmer.
It takes a while to get there, though.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
You have to get past the power war. The power contest. I don't want her to boss me around. He's not going to dominate me. In the first couple of years of marriage, you're sort of positioning yourself. Kind of like kids do. They test you. Spouses do the same thing. They want to be sure you're not going to step on my foot and I'm not going to step on your foot. And then after a while, that kind of softens and you realize that you don't have to be threatened. It'll be fine. But it takes, you got to get through that, especially if you're both type A personalities, which we both are. And, we both ran our own television shows and were very ambitious and assertive, which we liked about each other and attracted us both to each other. But it also caused for a lot of tension in the beginning. We don't have that anymore. We haven't had that for a long time. But the first few years, it was difficult because we were positioning ourselves. We didn't realize it, of course.
Right. Is there any social media where people can find out? I said the book is called What Makes a Marriage Last. Is there any social media where people can find out more about this project and the both of you?
Yes, well, I have a Facebook page, Marlo Thomas at Facebook, and I think we also have a What Makes a Marriage Last website through Harper's, our publisher. And you can buy the book through Amazon, of course, or Barnes & Noble. And you can read the reviews there on Amazon. It's a really good read, and I'm excited for people to get it because I think it will help other marriages. We've received a lot of mail from people saying that, boy, this really helped. My husband and I are reading the stories to each other. We're taking turns reading one a night, and it's really been a catalyst for a lot of conversation because it was for us, too. Every couple we met when we would get back on the plane, because we traveled all over the country to interview these people, we'd get back on the plane and we'd say, well, that's really interesting that they have a 20-second hug, or that's really interesting about kick the can down the road, or that's, we would start talking to each other about what the people had said and how they got through, what they did to get through an infidelity, a loss of all their money. I mean, Kira Sedgwick and Kevin Bacon lost all their money all their savings to Bernie Madoff. Michael J. Fox was given a lifelong diagnosis of Parkinson's 3 years into their marriage. These are big, huge challenges.
And the illness of a child, it can be a very distracting.
Very. It can be consuming. So all of these things, and in every one of them, they stuck together and went through the fire together and didn't look for the escape route. That was what was so telling. The difference between people who get a divorce when something goes wrong and the people who stick together, it's because they're not looking to escape. There is no plan B, as Kira said. This is it. Hold hands and run through the fire together. When you get to the other side, you're really bonded.
Well, Marlo Thomas and Phil Donahue, thank you so much for being with us. Continued success on the book, and to both of you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
We've got more coming up right here, so don't go anywhere.